Orange Mound takes up the torch of Dr. King and take the torch to Africa. Join us in our Orange Mound to Africa initiative celebration. We came together in Orange Mound July 14, 2018 with the audacity of hope that we could continue the dream of Dr. King via celebrating the idea of the Tom Mboya Dr. Martin Luther King Educational and Cultural Center to be built in Nairobi, Kenya. As President Obama said, yes we can. All dreams start with an idea. While we in Memphis are over 8,000 miles away from Kenya, we in Orange Mound are connected to President Obama's visit to Kenya July 15th and 16th. We are following Dr. King's goal to bring not only the African and African American family together. Since Africa around Kenya is the birth of humans, we bring humanity together. Our event in Orange Mound was an international event with guests from 5 African countries and Bermuda. The guest list was diverse of various social, educational, and cultural backgrounds here to follow Dr. King's dream. Some of you may ask the question, what is the Orange Mound to Africa initiative? Only if you understand the history and the significance of Orange Mound can you understand our Orange Mound to Africa initiative. 25 years after the 13th Amendment that freed African Americans from slavery, the first neighborhood in America built for African Americans by African Americans emerged in 1890. It was on May 13th, 1959, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the SCLC was hosting an African Freedom Dinner for the African named Tom Mboya. Dr. King said on this day, quote, "Our struggle is not an isolated struggle," King insisted. "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality." And Orange Mound had built the first community in America for blacks by blacks. We in Orange Mound have a dream, and we have the audacity of hope. We in Orange Mound who carry the history of building the first community for blacks by blacks, we build on the first community of humanity and the world via our picking up the gauntlet of Dr. King and taking that gauntlet to Africa. From Orange Mound, we have a dream. In 1953, an organization was formed in America called ACOA, or American Committee on Africa. The group's mission was to fight for the liberation of Africa. In 1956, ACOA sponsored a 26-year-old African to come from a place called British East Africa that later became known as Kenya. This young man's name was Tom Mboya. Tom Mboya is the most influential African to impact American culture, history, and politics than any African in history. Without an Mboya, there would never have been an Obama. The Orange Mound to Africa initiative notes Orange Mound as the first community in America to acknowledge the work of Tom Mboya and its significance and contribution to American culture, history, and politics. Noting that Tom Mboya is the most significant African and American history and Dr. Martin Luther King is the most significant African and American history, the Orange Mound to Africa initiative notes the most significant African to affect American culture, history, and politics is Kenya's Tom Mboya. The most significant African American to affect America's culture, history, and politics is Dr. Martin Luther King. We in Orange Mound, the first community in America built for blacks, by blacks, take the history and spirit of Orange Mound to build not only the bridge to unite the African and African American community, we in Orange Mound propose to build the bridge to unite humanity. The bridge to connect the African and African American community that will unite humanity is the Tom Mboya, Dr. Martin Luther King Education and Culture Center we propose to be built in Nairobi, Kenya. It was in 1959, whereas former First Lady Anna Ella Roosevelt, who was an American political figure, diplomat, and activist who introduced singer Harry Belafonte and baseball great to the then 29-year-old African Tom Mboya. Tom Mboya had the dream of opening opportunity for Africans to travel to America to get an education. Singer Harry Belafonte, baseball great Jackie Robinson, and actor Sidney Poitier lent their names on a letter, whereas African Americans gave $1, $2, or whatever they had, so East Africans who could come to school to get an education from what is now known as Kenya. The program was called I Lift America, and one of the beneficiaries of the program was a 23-year-old African from Kigali, Kenya, by the name of Barack Obama Sr. It was in April of 1959, whereas Tom Mboya not only marched with Dr. King, Tom Mboya spoke at the King event as the voice from Africa. It was on February 12, 1960, whereas then Senator John F. Kennedy said, quote, "Education is, in truth, the only key to genuine African independence and progress," unquote. History notes that in 1960, then Senator John F. Kennedy, a presidential candidate, recommended that the Kennedy Foundation donate $100,000 for airfare for the then East African students, now known as Kenyans, to go to school in America, and another $100,000 to support the Kenyan students while they are getting educated in America. The JFK Library and Museum states, quote, "Kennedy's decision to support the effort became an issue in the election and possibly a factor in its narrow victory," unquote. It is in Orange Mound, whereas we lift the torch of Dr. King and carry the torch to Africa and Kenya to ignite the spirit of Tom Mboya, proposing the Tom Mboya, Dr. Martin Luther King Education and Culture Center to be built in Nairobi,